Hello, welcome. Wait, for some reason, that reminds me of the stupid joke that I made during the pirate episode of Yoked.
No, that was...
It's like, what rhymes with Hawaii? Rum!
That's a good one. I like that too.
And on that note, welcome everybody to Awesome Hardware episode 201. We just celebrated our 200th milestone.
Yeah.
About a week or two ago, and it's all downhill from here.
It was so great, we had to take a week off afterwards.
That's right. How was your trip, by the way?
It was great. I went to Yosemite, and it was beautiful.
Nice.
There's still some water in the water.
Cool. I saw a picture of Half Dome in the background. Did you guys do any hiking there?
Not too much. We're somewhat limited because we got the baby and we have the dogs.
Yeah.
You can bring dogs into Yosemite National Park, but you have to keep onto paved roads. Which, you know, there's still plenty of places you can go, but the hikes we normally do, you can't do that. So
right.
We were just it was the first trip for baby, so we were just kind of, and also like I hadn't gone in a while, like into Yosemite Valley, so but yeah, nice. I really love it there.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
I hope it was good enough to let all of our fans down by missing a week of Awesome Hardware.
Well, it's good enough for me to make a short vlog about it, so that'll be up soon on my channel.
Good call. Good man, Paul. But thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. This is a show that we do every single Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. That's a big asterisk right there. 5:30 to 6 p.m. generally, right here on Awesome Hardware, or I should say twitch.tv/awesomehardware. We also stream in two halves on YouTube. This week, the first half is streamed to my channel, Bitwit. And then in about half an hour or so, we'll switch over to Paul's channel, which is youtube.com/paulshardware. You can also find a link to that in my video description. And apart from that, it's a fun show. We like to have a lot of fun. Occasionally, why am I even saying occasionally? Every single time we have a drink. And if you are of legal drinking age, then we encourage you to do the same along with us, responsibly, of course. We will occasionally use adult language, so if you're sensitive to that type of thing, maybe get some earmuffs or hide the little ones if they're around. We don't want to be responsible for them growing up into vulgar monsters.
Vulgarians.
Vulgarities. Vulgarianistas. So the other thing is that we have merchandise stores that you can easily support us on by picking up anything from my store, bitwit.tech, where I've got a multitude of logo option decals and other things that will soon be outdated because we, as I mentioned before, we're working on a new logo which is
coming.
Very, very close to being ready, and I'm really excited to reveal that all to you guys. So these are all vintage. Everything with the Bitwit logo on it right here is completely vintage. It will be worth probably tens of thousands of dollars, if not more,
new logo
in just
coming,
a few years.
Way better than the old logo.
Totally.
In the meantime, buy this stuff with the old logo on it.
Buy this stuff. And there's some stuff without the logo on there as well. On Paul's store, we've got
$3 for a mug, though, Kyle. That is a screaming deal.
I should mention that all the things that do have a Bitwit logo on them are currently on a mad, ridiculous sale right now. So if you just need a mug and you don't even care...
Fidget spinner.
We still have fidget... No, it says sold out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's sold out.
They finally sold out. I don't know why he didn't just remove it.
Okay.
We're not going to restock those ever. And then we got paulshardware.net. Paul also has a lovely inventory of high-quality merchandise with his logo, which is not changing because it's already awesome. Is that different? That thumbscrew render?
What?
That thumbscrew render looks different. Has it always been like that?
You have options there. I mean,
that looks so photorealistic. When did it get so photorealistic? That's just an actual thumbscrew. That's just a
picture of a thumbscrew.
Where'd you get that? Did you just like download an iStock image and slap it on a mug?
Look, the source.
Did you take that picture yourself?
The source of this image that I'm plastering on products and selling is really of little concern to you, Kyle.
I don't know if that's considered free use, or what is it?
I'll direct you to John. You can email John and ask him about that.
I will. I have some words to say to John.
Okay.
No, everything on Paul's store is equally awesome. Feel free to purchase anything from either of our stores. We'll yell Johnson at you by the end of the show in the after party, and it's a great way to help support what we do. Additionally, we have news. So let's just talk about tech news.
Subsequently.
So starting with this article from WCCF Tech. This has been floating around everywhere, though. The AMD Ryzen 9 3950X, which is the 16-core, 32-thread behemoth from AMD's mainstream Ryzen 3000 line.
Came out of nowhere.
Came out of friggin' nowhere. Has been listed on a website from Germany, Digitech, which I'm not too familiar with, but they listed the chip along with a release date. It's stamped right there on the website of September 30th for €999. People are speculating that this is just a placeholder figure because that translates to $1,102 US, which is significantly higher than the $749 US MSRP that we've been allegedly promised by AMD. But of course, that's just an MSRP, and as we've seen in the past, some products can launch for much higher than their rated MSRP, just because due to market supply and demand and whatever prices that the retailers or the PMs belonging to those retailers set those products to be at. So we don't know. We actually aren't sure exactly if we're going to be able to snag one of these on launch for the MSRP, or if it's going to look closer to $1,000. That would be unfortunate, but let's hope for the best. This is, of course, building upon the Ryzen 3000, or it is a part of the Ryzen 3000 Zen 2 7nm family. Very exciting. There's 3 chiplets on board, 2 of which are Zen 2 dies, and then we have that single I/O die that's actually on the 14nm process. And we have a base clock of 3.5 gigahertz boosting up to 4.7 gigahertz. I think that might be the highest boosting Ryzen 3000 SKU we've seen thus far, because generally the Ryzen chips have not been able to boost this high. It'll be kind of interesting to see if these are actually boosting out the advertised speeds, because as you'll find out in just a moment, we'll talk about how the advertising hasn't 100% been true on AMD's side when it comes to their boost frequencies. But more on that in just a moment.
I was gonna say, like, what if this is just wrong completely?
It could be. It could be wrong. This is all hearsay.
My words aren't working. Yeah.
No, yeah. Words.
What Kyle's referring to is, like, there's been some hubbub in the past week or two about Ryzen CPUs not hitting their listed turbo clocks.
Yeah.
And there's been more information that's come to light about Ryzen CPUs and how they work.
Yeah.
Long story short, I don't think it's a huge deal, but more on that in just a second.
Yeah. The other thing, there's really not much else to say here, apart from we're expecting soldered TIM thermal interface material for better thermals, especially when overclocking, just like the existing Ryzen 3000 series SKUs that are already out, and this will allegedly even compete with some of AMD's own high-end desktop offerings, perhaps until Threadripper 3 or 3000 series arrives, which I think you have a bit to say on that on your half.
Yes,
cool.
We have a little bit of info about Threadripper 3.
Yes, I'll take anything I can get with
just a smidge.
Threadripper 3. So about that, circling back to that topic that we just brought up earlier a second ago, AMD has announced that there's going to be BIOS updates for their Ryzen 3000 SKUs that are going to boost performance and more. So this is also from WCCF Tech. Apparently there's been boosting issues with the CPU at launch. I didn't do extensive boost frequency testing in my Ryzen 3000 review, but I know a lot of people did, and they found that it wasn't quite boosting up to the rated or advertised speeds that were on the box. Der Bauer, aka Roman, or I should say Roman, aka Der Bauer, professional overclocker extraordinaire, conducted a boost survey, a boost frequency survey, and found that most users, out of roughly 3,000 people surveyed, they found that their Ryzen 3000 chips were falling short of hitting their advertised boost frequency by roughly 25 to 50 megahertz in most cases. It's not a huge discrepancy there, but it is lower than advertised, and that's definitely something to be addressed. AMD apparently said that it was a firmware issue. So now that they've admitted that there is a serious problem here, they've actually released plans to fix the issue, and they're going to do that by releasing an AGESA update. What's the funnest way you could pronounce AGESA?
AGESA.
Are we Super Mario?
AGESA. There's
maybe it's a silent
probably
G.
no limit to the number of ways you could
AGESA.
AGESA.
Anyway, AGESA 1.0.0.3 ABBA.
ABBA, ABB. They had A.
Gotta point that out.
AB.
Gotta point that out that it's the AGESA ABBA. The ABBA AGESA. It's just getting weirder. Are going out to board partners today with new BIOSes to roll out in roughly 3 weeks, depending on the vendor and how quickly they can get a new BIOS out. So they mentioned in AMD's internal testing that they are showing a 25 to 50 megahertz improvement with this new AGESA update, which is coincidentally exactly what people were saying they were missing out on in Bauer's survey. The current boost clocks under various workloads are going to be working differently here and there. AMD's claimed that this will not affect the lifespan or the reliability of the CPUs, because if you're pumping more frequency, or if you're pumping more voltage into these CPUs in order to deliver a higher frequency, there's some speculation that it could shorten the lifespan potentially by wearing down the silicon over a period of time. But
that's what Intel wants you to believe.
That's what Intel wants you to believe. Conspiracy tinfoil hat. But apparently, according to AMD, but I don't know how. I guess they could already know that without actually testing it over years and years. But even if it did affect it, it's probably so marginal that it's virtually non-existent. But who's to say for now? There's also an idle enhancement that will be included with this update. So apparently, Ryzen 3000 was seeing some voltage spikes, or has been seeing voltage spikes at idle, due to the way the idle voltages were being reported in particular certain monitoring software. The AGESA update introduces an activity filter that keeps the idle voltage from jumping up. It's supposedly going to operate around 1.2 volts, which is a bit more reasonable than what some users are saying that it's spiking up to when it's simply idling. I didn't really quite understand how they were phrasing it in this particular article, but it seems like the certain cores that are being used to actually run the diagnostic software, like the really low level, the really low intensive monitoring software, those cores are being pinged, and those are the cores that are being woken up, so to speak, by having just voltage surges running through them. Don't quote me on that, though.
It's also now understood that your AMD Ryzen 3rd Gen processor will have fast cores and slow cores. There are fast cores that are the ones that ramp up at higher frequencies. There are slow cores that will run slower.
Like alphas and betas.
Yeah.
In the core world.
So that's just something too. It's not like your fastest core is going to bounce around between some. They are. Yeah.
Not all cores are created equal.
Not all cores are created
equal. Even on the same chip.
Yeah, and your cores that are going to go the fastest are always going to be the ones that go the fastest. Intel was trying to throw shade about this by pointing out that they're concerned about longevity, and that is something that you are supposed to be concerned about when you're manufacturing a process or manufacturing something like a CPU. But I don't know. Intel just seems to be looking for any weakness that AMD might be showing so that they can jump on it, which is kind of weird, and also not something that they've done very much in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I don't know if you were planning to dive into the Intel...
The drama, the beef?
The little bit of back and forth that Intel and AMD have had.
No, but I will say this, is that, we've already talked extensively, everyone's been talking extensively about how the tables have sort of turned with Intel and AMD. Like, AMD's now on top, and Intel recently admitted that they have lost market share to AMD. It seems like they're in a total backwards position than where they were just a few years ago. But even now, like, with the whole shit-talking thing, with, like, Intel sort of, like, trying to market ways to take AMD down a few rungs, like, that's, like, AMD's thing. AMD, as the underdog, has always been the one to sort of be a bit more vicious or a bit more insulting, I guess, to the other team. And Intel, for as long as they've been on top, they never really had to fire back or talk shit because they were number one. When you're number one and you're that far ahead, you don't need to talk shit. It's just like you already got it. You don't have to prove anything. And now it's like Intel's spewing all this, trying to spit fire apparently onto AMD because they feel threatened because they should. They're losing market share left and right. So it's interesting how everything's really taken a turn, like a 180 turn, even in the shit talking realm.
Flip side of this, I think, and I think Bauer was right to do what he did and go out and get a survey so he could get a larger sample size for what people were actually experiencing when it comes to boost speeds, is like perception versus reality when it comes to something like advertised frequencies, turbo speeds. You could look at both Intel or AMD from this perspective and say, like, Intel's listed turbo speeds for their CPUs are not within spec when it comes to they've done weird things when it comes to the TDP ratings.
I was gonna say,
compared with the frequencies. If you run an Intel CPU like a 9900K at its rated peak frequency, and you try to do that for a sustained period of time, or if you try to do it on more cores than just one or two, it's not going to run within the thermal rating that is listed.
Yeah.
But Intel has some weird stuff that they've said about that.
Yeah.
Now here, and at the same time, you have AMD being a little bit more forward with the peak frequencies that they're expecting these CPUs to run at, which is nice. But then at the same time, people are holding them to that. And if they're hitting 25 hertz or 50 hertz or up to 100 hertz lower than that, then people are starting to be like, well, wait, now I'm not getting what was promised to me.
Yeah.
So to tie this all back together and bring NVIDIA into it as well, I think I kind of like what NVIDIA has done with their boost and like base and boost clocks when it comes to the GPU side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because for quite some time, NVIDIA will tell you a base and a boost clock, and your GPU will almost always run much higher than that.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a really, really thermally limited situation.
Yeah.
So people often in that situation will be like, oh, I'm getting extra frequency.
Right.
I'm getting bonus on top of whatever stuff. And it's just because NVIDIA or the graphics card manufacturers have come out and said, like, they've been conservative with their estimates.
Yeah.
They have underpromised and overdelivered.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is a great way to go about doing things, just in general,
Yeah.
generally in life.
Right.
And it's it gives people a positive response to getting a little bit of extra versus a negative response to only getting exactly what they were promised, or sometimes even slightly less.
Right. And it's all psychological, because regardless of if the clock speeds were exactly the same, but they just marketed it differently, like let's say they underpromised but they overdelivered, then everyone would be happy, right? But if they overpromised and underdelivered but the clock speeds were the exact same, then they'd get a lot of shit for it. Yeah. So it's really just a matter of perception, and marketing just plays a huge role. It's like you can either, maybe impress them right off the bat, but then they're a little disappointed when they actually get the product in, or you can maybe start off at a lower, point of puffing yourself up, but then come out all the more for it when they actually get it on the test bed. So it's kind of just interesting to see how different companies are marketing their products.
If the end result here is that AMD is going to throw some additional man hours at the development of their AGESA code, and we're going to end up with a slightly better tuned, update, UEFI update that can plug in some slightly better tuned CPU microcode in that will make the CPUs run a little bit better, then I think that's a good thing all around. So
yeah.
Anyway, but just like, I heard some people I feel like trying to make too much out of this, and I think that's what Intel wants.
Of course.
I think there was some kind of intentional misinformation that went out there.
Yeah.
And not that it doesn't go both ways a lot of the time, but yeah, don't make too much.
This isn't a GTX 970 thing.
We didn't lose half a gig.
We didn't lose half
VRAM.
a gig, which is a much higher percentage.
Sorry, not lose. See, even I.
Yeah,
now,
right. Not
years
even
later.
Yeah.
Slightly slower VRAM.
Yeah.
Than the rest.
Okay. Definitely not that severe, but still good to keep a company honest, regardless of how small the difference is. All right, let's move on to our next article, which is from overclock3d.net. This is about NVIDIA bringing HDMI 2.1 variable refresh rate support to its RTX 20 series and GTX 16 series GPUs. A lot of people were saying it was only for the RTX 20 series, but it's been confirmed that the GTX 16 series GPUs are going to get support for this as well. So this actually follows NVIDIA's announcement earlier this year that they plan to support alternative VRR, or variable refresh rate solutions. They also added support earlier this year for the VESA adaptive sync standard to their GPUs, which enables VRR support on select non-G-Sync displays. Why would they do this? Well, G-Sync modules, as most of us know, are very expensive to implement. And if you can't actually implement your proprietary module into a wide range of displays, then you don't really have a wide appeal for people to purchase your GPUs, when they can maybe go with something that's a bit more open source, like FreeSync, for example. So it makes sense for NVIDIA to go this route, but all that said, they've announced today, building upon all that, that 20 series and 16 series GPUs will receive VRR capabilities via HDMI 2.1. This announcement comes bundled with an LG press release, which reveals that their 2019 OLED displays, or TVs I should say, are becoming G-Sync compatible.
More on that on my half.
More on that on Paul's half. and this is going to just come with a firmware update. So basically, you already have an HDMI 2.1 port on these GeForce cards, but up until now, they haven't had the ability to support variable refresh rate in an HDMI over HDMI 2.1. It's had to be through a DisplayPort connection. As we all know, there are a lot of amazing TVs out there that pretty much fit the bill in every spec qualification for a gaming display, but they don't have display ports. They don't have ports on them. It's only HDMI. I've yet to see a high-end TV with a DisplayPort on it. So now, this is a huge deal for gamers in the living room or people who only have a display that might support variable refresh rate over an HDMI 2.1 connection, but not have DisplayPort. So this is sort of bundled with LG's announcement. HDMI 2.1 VRR will release with a new GeForce driver that'll make the support possible. We might have more details when that about the new edition when that driver finally hits. VRR support is apparently a mandatory feature of the HDMI 2.1 standard. So to be fully compliant with HDMI 2.1, NVIDIA kind of has to implement this alternative variable refresh rate technology into their cards. And so it's basically, you're going to start to see a lot of TVs, I would imagine, that are listed or advertised as being G-Sync compatible, and that's most likely going to be because they have HDMI 2.1 standard ports on them that meet all the qualifications of HDMI 2.1, including variable refresh rate. So this actually got me really excited when I read this article today, because I recently got, I guess earlier this year, I received an LG OLED display from 2019. It was a 2019 series, and I did a video on it, and I said, this is an amazing display to game on, but where it really falls short is no adaptive refresh rate. And it's funny because those LG TVs, the 2019 series, the OLEDs in particular, do have HDMI 2.1 variable refresh rate, but since no GPUs are able to support it, or were able to support it at that time, the only device I was able to actually test it with was an Xbox One. The Xbox One X actually supports HDMI 2.1 VRR. It received an update for that, I think, late last year or early this year. I can't remember. But up until now, that's the only device that's been able to work effectively on those TVs. And now we're seeing the potential for RTX and GTX 16 series GPUs.
And not something I think often that you hear about a TV. It's like, oh, the TV I bought last year is getting a firmware update. And no, it's not so they can update the smart features of it to spy on you and listen to the stuff you're saying and report it to some advertisers. It's a firmware patch that gives you more functionality on a TV. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Very cool. All right. I guess we can move on to a Hexus.net article. This is probably better suited for hot and heavy hardware.
More AIOs.
But I just lumped it in here. We have more AIOs because we don't already have way too many of these.
If there's one thing we need more selection of, it's all-in-one liquid coolers.
But this one's different, okay, Paul?
Nowhere near
this one's totally different than all the rest, and I'll tell you why.
RGB integration.
RGB, hello.
Okay.
Controlled by the Aorus software. So there's going to be 3. This is from Gigabyte. There's going to be 3 Aorus branded models: 240, 280, and 360. Okay? Totally game-changing standards that we've seen a million times before. Asetek, but they're going to feature Asetek Gen 6 pumps, which are crap. That's the most common AIO pump right now, isn't it? But don't worry, dual ball bearing quiet RGB fans. I think we've seen that a million times as well. However, Gigabyte is claiming up to 7% cooler performance levels on your CPU than other AIOs in its class when running Prime 95 on a 9900K at all cores, 5 gigahertz or more.
They're really milking that up to, I think.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Right. Up to
in our testing.
Maybe in the top 1% of test results, they found 7% cooler, and then everything else was 2% or maybe 1. So we'll have to see. We'll get this on the chopping block and see if it stands up. This is all going to be configured. I should say that there's an LCD display on the water block, as you can see. This seems to be the trend now. Let's put an LCD display on all the things, right? First it was RGB, and now you need an LCD display to drive up the price and provide little to no extra functionality for the end user.
It shows the temperature on there.
No, yeah, I was gonna say. However, this one does have some useful functionality. It does have a custom rotating display, so you can show your CPU model info, obviously temperatures, fan data, or custom images and text. That's more of an aesthetic thing.
I want an LCD on my AIO that I can you plug in like a monitor, use it as another monitor, and game on it. Right?
That'd be great.
Or like somebody's staring in the side of their computer.
Or at least a companion display where you could have your Twitter feed going, scrolling up and stuff.
Twitch chat, scrolling across your.
Being able to fit 2 comments every millisecond. That's useful. There's a bunch of different modes that it can do. It's got RGB. It's the Aorus Engine app that it's using. I don't think I've ever used the Aorus Engine app. I've used RGB Fusion, but and that's not the greatest RGB software. Like, a lot of RGB software is terrible from all the motherboard manufacturers. I've never used the Aorus Engine app. Hopefully it's a bit better and more stable.
It's like apparently RGB Fusion, they were... Well, no, this is RGB Fusion 2.0.
Okay, maybe that's...
RGB.
I don't know why they're going on about Aorus Engine and whatnot. Maybe that's to control like the fan speed and stuff, and this is just for the lighting. That could make sense. At any rate, we are seeing a copper base plate here. Standard size thickness for radiators. I would like to see more AIOs.
Aorus Engine software lets you configure the images and text displays on the pump.
Okay, so that's just for
other lighting and sync effects.
Customize it and stuff on the LCD. But I would like to see more AIOs, even with Asetek pumps, as generic as they are, to have start using thicker radiators. I feel like we're still stuck with the standard, 20 millimeter thick, 18 to 22 millimeter thick radiators that, they're fine, but cases are getting more and more. I mean, cases have been allowing more and more radiator support, I think, when it comes to custom water cooling. So we can actually fit much thicker radiators in our cases now, guys. Let's step that up for even the most basic rinse and repeat AIOs. At least that would be somewhat of an improvement performance-wise, and not just adding more LCD blingy bling RGB stuff.
That would be rad.
Just my 2 cents. But this should be launching very soon. We don't have a price just yet, but keep an eye out for it if you're in the market for a new AIO. Look at the reviews first. Then we also have an article from PC Gamer. This is rumors. We've got rumors. Grain of salt time. All right, just sprinkle that salt. Rumors of a GTX 1660 Super with faster memory, apparently. This is a leak that comes, or I should say a rumor that comes from mydrivers.com, claiming that the 1660 Super will see faster 14 gigabit per second GDDR6 memory instead of 8 gigabit per second GDDR5 memory on the existing GTX 1660, which is, I think when you factor in the faster memory along with the just like the better quality memory, like GDDR6, just the higher performing memory in general, I think that could very well give you maybe a 5 to 10% bump in frame rates, but we'll have to see. We will still have 6 gigabytes of VRAM with the same number of CUDA cores, so really all the extra performance gains here would be from the faster and better memory overall. It's unclear if the clock speeds will be different or if it's going to overclock differently. This, of course, will sit between the GTX 1660 and the 1660 Ti, which is, those two cards are only roughly maybe $60 apart or so. So people are speculating.
So the 1650 Ti... Wait.
We haven't mentioned that yet.
1660 Super... There's already a 1660 Ti.
Correct. So this will be one step below that. This will be between the 1660 and the 1660 Ti.
Ti trumps Super.
Ti trumps Super, apparently.
Is what... Okay.
Yeah.
I still liked it back when NVIDIA, they only used Ti for their very highest end cards. Or, they needed just a little extra on top of the high end.
Right.
And they start mixing it in with the lower end cards just to make a differentiated product down there.
Yeah.
It seems to muddy it. And now we have Super in there too.
Right.
And that's just going to be confusing. You got a 1660 and a 1660 Super and a 1660 Ti.
Right.
And is there a 1660 Ti Super? Probably not. But but you never know. Maybe they could do that. I don't know. It's I don't. I feel like Ti and Super
are interchangeable.
Are effectively the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like just it's
a different time.
It's a suffix that goes on the end to make it better, but it's hard.
Super is a TI refresh for Super is a TI refresh for a better deal to milk more money out of consumers.
Yeah.
Nvidia will start with high prices with the TIs, and then maybe a year later they'll refresh them as Supers and make them a little faster, but basically, you know, cut down the price to make them what they probably should have been at launch. I don't know. It's a bit of a potentially controversial marketing thing that NVIDIA is doing with this launch, but with this family of GPUs. But yeah, it's very confusing, and I'll be very curious to see if they continue Super with the next generation, or if this is just kind of a one-off thing, and you know they're gonna stick to their.
I think they went with Super. I mean, not why they went with specifically the word Super, but why they went with another word to add on and still do the 2000 series is because they weren't ready to like completely do a new series and call it the 3000 series.
Yeah.
But they wanted to refresh the product line, and I don't know. I guess they just got tired of putting TI on everything. I'm not sure. It's confusing.
Yeah, they could have just stuck with TI. You're right. I don't know what goes on in Jensen's mind behind that leather jacket.
That's the leather jacket. It's not on his head.
You don't know that. Maybe around the office he walks around with the jacket on his head. You know, like he's.
Or maybe he just thinks with his heart.
Like he's Emperor Palpatine. Fans on the floor.
Hero, that was so awkward and kind of sad. You okay, big boy? You just turned the fan on? Or was it off?
I think it was already on. It was on 2. Remember you had to
yeah.
You want me to pick it up?
Yeah, would you mind propping that back up?
I can do that.
Poor boy. Hero, come here. Come here.
Oh boy.
Come say hi to people. No, he doesn't want to. You gonna come say hi?
He's much bigger than he thinks he
right
is.
Here. Nori wants to say hi.
Hi, Nori. How heavy is she?
She's 35, 40 pounds.
You could like.
Good girl, Nori.
She'd be good for like a dumbbell. You could dumbbell Noris, you know, 10 Noris on the right, 10 Noris on the left.
Sure, you can do that.
And then Hero, you would just bench. You just bench. You do leg presses with Hero.
Now Hero wants
a
to
big
say
boy.
hi. Now Hero's like, wait, she's getting pets and I'm not.
Wait, how come she gets to be on stream?
I'm kidding.
I'm at the foot of your feet.
I gave you the option, Hero. All right, Nori's.
You know I'm cuter. You know I'm here too. There we go. Okay.
Now I have dog hair on me.
I'm a prize, okay? Love me. I'm a total catch. We know, Hero.
Yeah, good boy, Hero.
We
You're
know.
a good boy too. Very good boy. Okay.
All right. Bit of a doggy intermission there.
Dog intermission.
Sure you guys don't mind. All right. The other thing here is that we could potentially see the 1660 go away. Just like we saw the RTX 2070 and the 2080 go away. Once the super versions came out, it kind of just replaced them. So potentially we might be looking at similar price point, if that's the case, around $219, maybe $229, which would be fine, I guess. We'll just have to wait and see. There's also some rumors about a GTX 1650 Ti launching, which would probably have higher clock speeds and potentially more CUDA cores. But that's an even further away, or an even more unlikely rumor, because we have zero information about that. It's just a word. It's just a phrase that's floating around for now. So keep your ear to the ground for that. We certainly will, and we'll let you know if anything pops up. And yeah, let's move on to our next article. And this is the final one for me before we move on to the next segment. The Pixel 4.
No, we have a sponsor spot to do.
Oh yeah, we do have a sponsor spot. So I want to talk briefly about the Pixel 4. Really only just because I'm planning to get one when it comes out next month. Because my phone is completely cracked. If you guys watched that one vlog that I did, it's just like a massive crack in all directions in the middle. Don't know how it happened.
Stay off the crack, Cal.
I know, crack is whack. So yeah, there's been a ton of leaks with the Pixel 4 lately. Very strategically placed right before the iPhone 11.
I'm stunned by the level of detail. Just that's what really blows me. I mean, I'm
Pixel 4 in stunning detail.
I briefly couldn't move, speak, or breathe
because you were so stunned.
Because of the detail.
It was just so stunning.
That I'm seeing here. It looks kind of like an O face, right? Two eyes with the O face.
Oh, it does.
Right there.
Yeah, it looks like the emoji.
A little bit. Ew.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any? Oh, look at that.
So look black and white.
Look at that detail.
Holy crap, black and white. What revolutionary color choices for smartphones in 2019.
They're really calling this is like a shitty, like, front-facing camera. This is not a good picture.
No, it's a terrible picture.
Look at the...
I feel unsatisfied.
Look at this. Look at his hand. It's like pixelated or something. Anyway. This is even worse. What is...
Yeah, where are we? Are we in his bathroom?
What does BGR have... Like, how do they get off with this headline? Stunning detail.
Is that the pic? That's the only picture that is like semi-high quality.
Well, this is stunning. I mean, that's no joke there.
Yeah, I'm making the same face as the camera when I see that picture.
But these are just like, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty basic.
Okay.
It looks like it was taken with an old flip phone. At any rate, we have black and white versions.
I see he went into this cafeteria.
Yeah.
Take his pictures up against the floor.
He's like, oh, I guess there's better lighting in here.
Bathroom.
Slightly better lighting, but the lighting in this is shit. So
you can easily hold two in one hand though. That's what's really the.
I'm not sure if these are the XLs or the. They look XL to me.
They look larger. That or he's got a very small hand.
We don't know how. Yeah, that's true. We don't know how big the hand is.
Okay.
There was no banana for scale provided. Yeah, these are leaked images of the Pixel 4. People are, like the article saying, oh, they kind of messed up the design, or they botched the design because there's still fairly thick bezels on the top and chin, which I guess is a big no-no for 2019. See, I'm not a phone guy, so when I see, like, a phone like that that's got, maybe some, like, slight bezels on the top and bottom, I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty clean, looks pretty nice. But then, like, the hardcore phone guys that are really into phones,
look at the forehead.
That's like...
It has a forehead.
It's like gaming on a quad core to us, Like, what the hell's... What year are you in right now, buddy? So it's just a different perspective there. But I think it looks good. I don't really care about the O face on the camera, or that it's like a large square now, because it's got more sensors and cameras on it now.
It does. It does appear to protrude a bit from the back. That is.
Yeah, but see, I usually put a case on mine, so the case is generally thicker than that anyway.
So you're probably all right.
Yeah, but for people who are just raw dogging it, probably not super thrilled with that. It might get scratched easily if it's popping out.
I was about to like be right in the same boat with you.
Oh, with cracking?
Be like, I need a new phone too.
Because you have a Pixel.
Because I have a original Pixel XL right here. Look how crappy my case is.
The battery life.
I've been using the same case for 3 years. I could easily get a new $7 case that would not look hideous like this.
Yeah, that looks.
Look how much it's worn from just my hand being right there.
It's kind of awesome because you're like, wow, that's what my phone would look like if I didn't have a case.
Because the case is still perfectly functional as a case, and I don't give a fuck about the back of my phone looks.
Yeah, and if you ever want to, like, whip your dick out, you can just take the phone case off, and it's like, look, brand new looking Pixel 1. It probably looks pristine underneath.
Every time I post pictures with this, people always like, what phone is that you took? I'm like, it's the original Pixel. It's 3 years old.
Yeah.
And then I did the picture that I took, little family photo I took in Yosemite, was with the front-facing camera on this.
Still really
Still
good.
turned out real nice.
Yeah. And that's why this is such a popular choice for content creators.
And the only reason I wanted to ditch it was because the USB-C port is not working the way it used to. I can't always get fast charging. In fact, fast charging has stopped working completely, which wasn't a huge deal to me, but an annoyance.
Yeah.
And then I was having trouble getting data transfer recently, too.
Yeah.
But I finally snipped apart a little cardboard box thing, and I just dug around in there for a while.
What, just cleaning it?
Yeah, I just extracted some
gunk,
lint, and whatever else was down in there. So and then the data transfer started working again. So I now no longer need a new phone.
You just needed to clean those connectors, apparently.
I'm gonna use this as long as I possibly can.
Yeah, and battery life is fine.
Battery life's still great.
Really, that surprises me. Because I feel like that's like, if planned obsolescence is really a thing, then I feel like they attack the battery life first.
Apparently Google doesn't do a firmware update that makes your battery life go to shit.
Well, that's definitely true. Yeah. But I just feel like just after being charged over and over, being drained and charged for, almost every day.
I'm sure it's
years on end.
It's not what it was, 2-3 years ago, but it's still perfectly adequate to get me through most days.
Mine is like really bad. I have a Pixel 2. Non-XL though, so it's definitely a smaller battery than the XL equivalent. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even just after like a year or two, I feel like the battery life is tanked by 40%.
It's also like
really bad.
It's triggered the side of me like my dad taught me, which is like you don't spend money on anything and ever.
That's good. That's better than spending money on everything. If you have to go one extreme,
be careful about how you spend. Be frugal. Don't waste money and whatever. And now I'm like, I bought this phone out of pocket.
Right.
And now the longer I use it, the less I spent per day on this phone. So
yeah.
It's like,
that's true.
It's like an investment that is paying dividends or something like that. All right.
If only.
We need to do a sponsor spot.
Sponsor spot.
Yay. Oh, no, that's the wrong... Wow, never mind. Don't do that.
What?
Sponsor spot. Yay.
It's going great so far.
I just randomly clicked on sponsor spot.
It's like an MSI monitor page.
We haven't used that sponsor link in a while. It said Toshiba on it, which fortunately is not a competitor of the sponsor that we're... All right, our sponsor for this week is AOC.
Yeah.
And specifically the AOC monitor that is behind us. Which is a real nice one. The model number...
It's heavy.
Right.
Model number is AG271FZ2.
What?
Right?
AG271FZ2.
That's what I said.
Right. So, 2 weeks ago, we did an unboxing of this. We put it together. It has since been disassembled and reboxed so we could bring it to my house. Essentially what you've got with this monitor, and there's a couple different versions. There's a 24-inch or 25-inch class as well as this 27-inch class. I like that guy.
I don't know. I don't even know what that looks like. But
it's a 240 hertz gaming monitor. Has a nice stand and everything. We took it apart and assembled it. But one of the things that AOC wanted us specifically to point out is their warranty.
How many years, Paul? 5, 3, 1?
What?
How many years is the warranty? Oh, 3 years.
4 years. Here's some details about the warranty that they're giving out on this Aegon series of monitor. There's the Aegon over here on the left, and there's the AOC Gaming G series monitors, depending on which one you buy. If you get an Aegon series monitor, you have a 4-year zero dead pixel warranty,
wow,
a 4-year advanced replacement warranty,
nice,
and a 1-year one-time accidental damage warranty.
That's pretty good. That's actually really good.
I've never seen a monitor that ships with a warranty that covers all that. Even a single dead pixel, they'll cover you for.
Wow.
So there it is. It's all right there. And they're giving a 3-year. They're giving similar terms, just 1 year less on the dead pixel and advanced replacement for their G series monitors as well. So whether or not you're getting an Aegon or a G series, because they've got quite a few different ones available in the range. AOC makes various gaming monitors. They'll come with this real nice warranty. So
their warranty game is strong, I will admit.
If you guys want to take a closer look at us unboxing that monitor, go back to the last episode of Awesome Hardware that we broadcast from Kyle's house, and we actually took it apart and stuff. Since AOC is continuing to sponsor Awesome Hardware through September, that's not the last you'll see of that monitor. But for today, we specifically wanted to give a shout out to their warranty program, because that's real nice.
It's protection for the end user, and I can always appreciate that.
And I've, there's been plenty of people who've been out shopping for a monitor in my past and be like, what if it comes with a dead pixel? I hate that. And that does. Like, if you have one dead pixel on an otherwise nice, perfect monitor. So great that AOC is following up and replacing, or, covering you with that warranty. Anyway.
If you're curious, I'll drop a link to this page in my video description on YouTube.
Beautiful.
You want to check it out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, AOC, for your sponsorship of Awesome Hardware. A little bit more on that in my half.
All right. Moving on to our next segment, which is Pimp My PC. We have 5 candidates here who have all agreed to let us rip their systems apart and give them some helpful critiques on how they could do better. So starting with David Hansen. Hey, we share the last name. Cool. Let's move on, or I should say, you have a Core i7 8700K overclocked to 5 gigahertz. That's pretty nice. An Asus Maximus 10 Hero, 16 gigs of G-Skill Trident Z 4133, currently clocked at 3800 megahertz.
Speedy RAM.
That's fast. GTX 1080 for the win, 512 gig SSD, and it looks like we've got Fantex Enthu Lux case with a custom EK water block loop, including a monoblock GPU block XE360 rad and D5 pump. Wow. So pretty all-star collection of parts here. And the first thing I will say is, what is in your loop? It looks like there's stuff in your loop. Are those water bubbles? Or is that sediment from the colored liquid?
In this picture, the loop is not running. The fan is not spinning. So this is a picture with the loop, with the system off.
Right.
And it seems to be there's just a decent amount of air in the loop. So with it off, it's draining down to the lowest point in various places, so the tubes are not full. This tube on the right has liquid on it. These upper ones are probably just draining down into the GPU or elsewhere. You know how fluid dynamics work.
I've never seen a loop with that many air bubbles in it, though.
There does seem to be a lot
There's something else
air in there, and some people in chat are pointing out potentially sediment. Who knows? We're not sure what additives you've used in your liquid here. This is definitely like a picture of a system. Like, I bet right when you set this up and put in the liquid and everything and powered it on, like if we could see some glorious pictures right then, it'd be like, oh my gosh, that's super awesome. Mm-hmm. But this is like, you know, there's the after, I've tried to do a decent number of videos on sort of the aftermath of liquid cooling as well, because depending on what you put in the loop and how well it's maintained,
right.
And I'm certainly guilty of not maintaining liquid cooled systems that I've put together in the past.
Yeah,
you're gonna end up with something that either doesn't look good aesthetically, or in a more worst case scenario, doesn't perform well if you are dealing with junk actually building up in there and clogging up your blocks.
Right.
So we're not sure. We can't analyze what you got going on in that liquid there, but this definitely seems like it could do with a complete flush. And you could maybe consider the Mayhem's Blitz kit that you can buy. Follow the instructions on that. You get a bunch of distilled water. You can cycle a bunch of water through your loop without necessarily taking it apart, depending on what access you have. But it's a flexible tubing loop, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. Yeah. You could clean out as much of that as you want, and then either go with something that you might know works a little bit longer long term, or maybe just go with distilled water, because if you're using a system long term, the color,
it catches up to you eventually.
6 months later, you're going to care less about the color of the liquid in the loop, and you're going to care more about just it continuing to work because you need to use your computer for whatever reason.
Especially if it's like your daily driving system.
Yeah.
And maybe, if you want to go this route, maybe it's also a good time or good opportunity to go hardline. If you wanted to, really just amp up the overall aesthetic of the system and get that experience for yourself.
True. You need to replace all the fittings, though.
You would. So it'd be an investment of money as well as time, but it could potentially make your system definitely taken to the next level.
I appreciate the rear shot of the cable management.
Cable management looks good on the back.
It looks, it's pretty solid. There. Lit up. It's looking pretty nice there, too.
Great case. Great case choice.
Yeah, good case choice. And I like the side-by-side here you got with the dual gaming stations.
Yeah.
Triple monitors on the right, dual on the left.
Who you playing with? Is it a friend? A loved one?
That looks like a husband and wife or a boyfriend-girlfriend setup, if I, or something akin to that.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume gender roles or anything
that
like
person's got a system, a BitPhoenix case, it looks like.
Yeah.
Definitely a bit, probably not quite as beefy, but looks like it does the job.
Yeah, you got a great setup here. Just really need to give some TLC to that loop itself.
Yeah.
Beyond that, very nice build, well put together. I guess the only last thing is this cable here on the right. You've got an optical drive and a little extra loopy loop going on there.
Yeah.
Cable extensions would also top this off. But
oh yeah.
Really,
take care of the loop first.
The liquid loop attention is what we need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have Nathan H. Corsair C70 Vengeance olive drab case.
Oh yeah.
An Asus Strix X470 motherboard, AMD Ryzen 7 1800X, 32 gigs of G-Skill Trident RAM 3000, and two Asus Strix GTX 1080 Ti. 1080s in SLI, with a Thermaltake AIO and yeah. Wow. Okay. Interesting. It looks like you've duct taped the power supply shroud or something.
That looks...
And the hard drives.
The hard drives have some sort of camo cloth over them, which I actually really like.
You do?
Yeah.
Like the cloth portion or the digital camo portion?
Digicamo is not my favorite. If I'm gonna choose a style of camouflage, it's not necessarily my go-to. But I think you have a military theme case here, which Corsair was definitely going for with the C70. I kind of wish they would reboot the C70 in some way.
Yeah, me too. They should refresh
Very popular case for quite some time.
Yeah.
You've got the cable management in here is beautiful.
Yeah,
give you credit.
Very nice.
Give you credit there.
It's great.
You're not dealing with sleeved extensions or anything, but it still looks great.
Mm-hmm.
You've done good things with zip ties and whatnot. I like that you've got red LEDs when it's lit up. Looks kind of like it glows and it's dangerous inside, and then you've got
it's Marine's color.
Just with it turned off, it looks good too. And yeah, I don't know. It reminds me of tanks. A little bit. These two guys on the bottom, a little bit like tanks.
It reminded me of when you put the sheet over the dead corpse.
God.
It reminded me I was like, are these dead hard drives because you're putting a sheet over them? That's literally the first thing that comes to mind. But
we're not sure if it's actual cloth or what or something else like that.
I think I would like this implementation infinitely more if those pieces were cut to size to sort of fit seamlessly onto the drives, almost like a D-brand skin.
When you're in a combat situation, Kyle, you can't exactly make everything look clean and perfect. You gotta get the job done.
Well, I saw the system's off at some point. Sometimes it's it's just chilling. Sometimes it's idling. You can get it on an off day.
All right. Well, that's absolutely an aesthetic question. So you could maybe clean that up a little bit and go with Kyle's suggestion. I think it's looking pretty good though. I don't have too much to add when it comes to suggestions for this system. I think it's pretty well built. The SLI bridge isn't the nicest. There are some custom SLI bridges you can get that would look a little bit better, or potentially even just removing the label on the side of that would maybe clean that up just a little bit. Other than that, I really have nothing to add. I really like all your choices with this system personally.
Yeah. No,
well
really
done,
nice.
Nathan.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Next we have Cat Pirate.
Cat Pirate.
All right. GTX 1080, Ryzen 5 2600, 16 gigs of 2400 megahertz Corsair Vengeance, and B450 Tomahawk motherboard with a Fallout H500 case. So, got one of those custom NZXT chassis.
That's fun.
And this actually looks pretty good. I feel like cable management looks a little bit... I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out
it could be improved a little bit.
What this picture... What's it sitting on? There's this... Is it white cotton candy or...
What is that?
I don't know.
Well, if you look at the picture before it, it's like a sheet. It's like a white sheet.
Okay.
So I guess the flash just kind of makes it look all weird.
All right.
At any rate, I'm
curious about this system's home. It looks like it might be sitting on the ground.
I hope not. I hope that's not its permanent resting place.
You should feel bad if you're setting the system on the ground.
Yeah, I feel really bad.
Make a little stand for it. Get it up off the ground. 18 inches minimum, please.
Rough floor.
This is what I go for.
That's what she said.
You've got a nice custom built system. Get some cinder blocks. Do something for it there.
Yeah.
All right.
Cable management.
Internally, you have one of these NZXT Krakens, which tend to be
an octopus.
A little difficult. They have lots of cables coming out the top.
Is that why they call it the Kraken? Because it has all these tentacles, tendrils, just tentacles coming off of it. Maybe that's why it's called the Kraken.
Who knows?
Because it does have a lot of freaking cables.
Yeah, but that looks like it could use just a little bit more TLC up top. Granted, you've got a lot of cables coming off, so there's not a whole lot you can do, but I feel like you could tidy up just a smidge. Yeah. You've got a daisy chain cable coming up here for your GTX 1080. It's nice you only need a single plug for this, but I would maybe consider pulling up and plugging this secondary plug in, and then strapping this loose one back down to it.
Yeah.
You could maybe clean that up a little bit there. Other than that, your tubing's okay. It's doing a serpentine thing there, but it's not too bad or anything like that. You got a Tomahawk motherboard. Yeah, so that's all I've got.
If you really want to pimp this out and you're cool to spend some cash, get some custom sleeved extensions. Go to like Mainframe Customs or someone similar and get some like blue, yellow, and black. I don't know, some sort of like tri-tone, awesome looking custom cables. It'll take this to the next level.
A 24-pin extension and an 8-pin extension for the graphics card wouldn't be too terribly expensive.
Exactly.
Either, even if you're doing them custom.
Right.
And that would top things off.
And maybe I mean to fit the sort of NZXT ecosystem in terms of cosmetics, maybe get some RGB, the AR2 RGB fans, and those things can do lovely things with their LEDs, especially within the CAM software that would integrate perfectly with your Kraken. And you can make them dance together, do some alternating, marquee effects with yellow and blue alternating. It could be fantastic.
I agree.
I think that could really take it to the next level.
Got some potential there.
Yeah, absolute
Definitely some potential.
I'd pick you for Pimp My Rig if I didn't already have a candidate lined up.
Well,
Alan. Let's move on to Alan. Project Scorpio. Lian Li PC 011WGX. Very nice choice. Core i5 8600K with a Strix GTX 1080 Ti. Overclocked. Or I should say OC. Aorus X470 Ultra Gaming Wi-Fi. 16 gigs of Aorus DDR4. And it looks like we've got Thermaltake CPU block, Fantex GPU block, EK radiator, and power fittings. N-sourced custom cables. Yes, N-sourced was the other one I was thinking of. They do great work, and some Samsung drives there. Okay, so let's help Alan out here. Digging the color scheme. I really like the pink. Obviously, I'm getting some Hotline vibes here. So stroking my own horn.
I like the custom decal or label that you've got on your. I'm assuming that's an SSD at the back.
Yeah.
Keeping with the theme, Scorpion.
I dig it.
Well done.
I think that the tubing is good, but it could be straightened out a little bit. I feel like parallel and perpendicular lines throughout a custom loop are essential for just an extra clean look. If you want to take it to that showroom level.
Hear me out here, Kyle, because I think I might understand what he did here. So if you look at where you're coming from the CPU to the GPU here, that you couldn't do straight, or you'd have to do a kink.
That's the biggest one.
It would have to have a little, maybe a rotary fitting in there or something like that to make it straight.
Yeah.
So I think what he did was he decided if that's going to be a little angled to the right, he made this one go a little bit further left and come back angled to the right. Does it do that, or am I just making that up in my head?
I think that's coincidence. I don't think he planned it that way.
If it's planned, then well done. If not, I'm just making stuff up. But I would agree with Kyle from the general idea. You have very clean, straight 90-degree angles for your, like, this lower one here is perfectly level. You got a perfectly up-down one up here and across the top as well.
Yeah.
So that one does look just a little tweaked.
Yeah.
But I don't think it looks horrible by any stretch. So
no.
Just being a little picky there.
I'm just a bit OCD.
Cable management looks beautiful. I see a couple red accents in here that, I mean, if they were pink, the same color as your tubing, that would be nice. The Thermaltake, nice bottom of the Thermaltake pump here, and then the Aorus logo up there.
Those small details go a long way.
Then again, you probably wouldn't see those at all with the lights on and everything. But that just saying little things.
Just knowing that it's there.
Since you've already got a really, really nice build, those are the things that I think would really, really top things off.
Yeah. I agree.
And that's what I don't see any other way. Like even your rear shot here, I appreciate that as well.
Very nice.
Very well done on that. Even your little Thermaltake LED controllers.
And those things are such a pain.
They are.
Oh my god, I hate them. I hate Thermaltake RGB. Their system. I know it sucks to say, but
they were some of the earliest to make all addressable stuff. Them and NZXT, I think, but it can be very cumbersome to deal with. All right. Any other comments here, Kyle?
That is... No, we have one more.
We do have one more. Pimp My PC. Okay.
Steve, with an Asus ROG Strix B450F, a Ryzen 5 2600X, Hyper 212 Black RGB Edition, 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance, WinForce OC, GTX 1660 Ti. A very recent build I bought for very cheap, but you know, upgrades would be dope. Okay, so he built this, or he did not build this.
He bought it.
He bought it as is,
Okay.
and he may potentially upgrade it, so let's help him figure that out.
Right.
The first thing I will say is whoever you bought this from didn't really give two licks about cable management.
Well, they got the system put together. But
Well,
yeah,
you can do that
they
without
weren't
giving
paying
a
much
lick about cable
attention
management.
there.
Rotate the fan, at the very least, rotate the fan on your CPU cooler so that it's actually terminating from the backside where you don't see it.
You should also be able to flip the CPU cooler entirely so your Cooler Master logo is facing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to just completely redo the wiring here because wherever I'm seeing wires, they're just looking lazily plugged in and with lots of extra loose cable hanging about. And just tightening that up would do wonders for you. You've got a PNY SSD that seems to just be chilling on top of the drive cage over there. Tuck that down into a caddy. You've got other caddies down there. They should have 2.5-inch drive mounts. We have some clear heels style stripper fans at the front. Never a classy choice. No. You know, if you're in a dire situation, then go for it. But you know, you seem to be a person who has options, so get rid of those.
Can I make an amendment to the stripper fan rule, though?
Sure.
If the fan frame itself is solid, but the fan blade itself
blade's clear. Yeah,
clear.
That can be done.
That's done.
Varies from fan to fan.
I've seen ML120 Pros.
I've seen that done well. I've seen that done tactically.
Just so we're clear to everyone. But when the fan and the frame are both clear, no, that's a big X for both of us.
So yeah, ditch those fans. Get yourself some all-matching fans. Maybe just two to match this rear one. This looks like maybe a Corsair fan. It might be.
That's more expensive than the cooler.
It's not lit up though.
No, it's not.
You're right.
But if that's an LL series fan, why? It should not be in a system like this right now.
So yeah, this again, a system with a lot of potential here. You don't have none of the hardware is inherently bad looking other than those front fans.
There's a ton of potential.
So get a couple front fans, take the system apart, dust it, redo your wiring, and you'll have a much more appropriate a system that you can be a little bit more proud of. And hey, hoping you got a good deal on that because that's a nice little system that you bought used apparently. Yeah. Okay.
And that's about it, though. So, that's going to conclude it for my half, guys. Don't go anywhere, though, because we'll be right back with Paul's half in just a few minutes.
It's going to be great.
Stay where you are if you're on Twitch, and follow the link in my description below on my YouTube if you want to head over to Paul's half right now.
Thanks, guys.
See you in a bit.
Bye-bye.